This afternoon, we're going to give you a brief overview of some of the ways ICEED will help you in your research. The product of your research is hopefully intellectual property. The protection and identification of that intellectual property is something that ICEED is primarily responsible for. And then taking that intellectual property and making it into something commercially valuable is the other part of our staff. I will begin with the presentation this afternoon, followed by Ms. Najla Streety. Najla is our business development specialist. Najla's primary focus is on identifying how you innovate and commercialize your innovations. And then at the end of our presentation day, Ms. Stephanie Garner will present an overview of all the training and workshops that we have scheduled for you, including some competitions. One of the benefits of our office is that we get to work with students as well as faculty. We're not limited just to working with research staff and faculty. ICEED is a initiative, Title III initiative of the Research and Innovation Division under Dr. Mangesh Rajan. ICEED stands for Innovation, Commercialization, Entrepreneurship, and Economic Development. We work with other elements of Prairie View University who also are very valuable in producing entrepreneurs out of the Prairie View community. Mr. Jackson Twine, who will not be on this presentation, is our multimedia specialist. He helps us with all the videos, the flyers, the training materials, etc. So who are we and what can we do for you? Primarily, our mission is to help evolve the research capabilities of Prairie View. As many of you already know, Dr. Rajan has been very instrumental in increasing the research output for Prairie View. We have a lot more grants, we have a lot more grant proposals, we're getting a lot more research done, and we're moving Prairie View into a real research institution. The best way to have that research count for something is to be able to commercialize it after you guys innovate or invent something. That's where we come in. We're going to help faculty, staff, and student researchers identify their innovations, identify their inventions, and we're going to try to leverage that intellectual property to create value. We provide commercialization support across the threshold to include, to a certain extent, even former students of Prairie View who have gone on to create intellectual property and start their own companies, work their own businesses. And we're looking to give back and work with the Prairie View community, the current student body, and faculty and researchers. We're looking to get royalty returns to stakeholders. We'll talk about it briefly this afternoon, but over the course of the next year, you'll see workshops where we'll talk in more depth about what it is that a researcher who creates an invention that has value, what do you get out of it personally? Not just the respect and pride of your own from creating something out of nothing, but there's also economic value that goes directly to the researchers, to the inventors. So that's one of the royalty returns to stakeholders. But you're not the only stakeholders. We talk about equity returns to stakeholders. There are occasionally very significant inventions that we can find a licensing agreement with for the right company, and we can take those inventions and they can change the world, literally. We have, for example, one of the inventions I worked on in a previous position at Texas A&M was on guardrails. Texas A&M's organization invented a new type of guardrail. That guardrail was bringing in revenue to the tune of about $20 million a year for Texas A&M. So, and the inventors got a pretty significant chunk of that. So it's very valuable, can be very valuable. We also are able to work with the Prairie View researchers and students faculty to expand economic development within our extended community. We all know Prairie View is located in Prairie View, Texas, and we're working with the mayor of Prairie View, the community, to try to do outreach programs to increase the business community, increase the development of this area, create more jobs so people can stay in Prairie View. People that want to can find jobs. People that are students can find student internships without having to drive or fly to another part of the country. We're trying to expand economic development within our own community as well. What are our objectives? Well, one is we want to expand research. That is a R&I objective. ICEED is a tool for R&I. We work closely with all the other divisions within the Research and Innovation Division to help expand research opportunities. Ms. Streety will talk about her role in business development, but one of the things that she has done already and she's only been with us a couple of months, she's already identified outside companies, corporations, small and large, who want to work with Prairie View, who have research needs and are looking to Prairie View researchers to help solve those problems for them. And they're willing to pay for that. So she is doing off to a great start identifying these opportunities for us. And I expect those to increase as she gets more familiar with the research capabilities of Prairie View. We support faculty and students in the development, management, and licensing of intellectual property. We also manage the life cycle of intellectual assets. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in detail as we get into a couple of more slides. But we're here to help you innovate, help you to commercialize, and then in the next bullet, we assist faculty and students in entrepreneurships and startup companies. So we'll help you learn how to be an entrepreneur, how to take your entrepreneurship spirit and turn it into a real company. We want to provide leadership and support in creating this external support network through collaborations and partnerships with industry and economic development organizations. We work closely with Prairie View, Waller County, Hempstead, and to a certain extent, not as much as we want to yet, but to a certain extent already with the city of Houston and the Houston government ecosystem for innovation and entrepreneurship. Looking at the commercialization process, which I'll focus on one aspect of it, but we start with research. Research goes into identifying something that you've discovered during your research or created during your research, doing a disclosure statement, which is what we call an invention disclosure. I'll talk a little bit more about that today, but we've already done one workshop on how to fill out and prepare an invention disclosure, and how to submit it to us for evaluation and processing to become a patent application. And then we'll talk about how we look at your invention disclosure, we do the assessment on it, we help identify whether it needs to be patented, could be patented. And then from there, we'll move on to marketing and licensing. The disclosure, the assessment, and the protection part of it is what I will cover in the next few slides. It's important to understand that as an employee of the university system, the Texas A&M system owns all the intellectual property. Everything is system owned except as otherwise provided in the regulation. And that ownership results from anything where it's your employment responsibility with the system. You receive financial support from the system or any of its members. That financial support is also in the form of grants, or financial support from a third party that is administered by the system, which is all the grants, or with significant use of system member resources. And finally, any combination of foregoing. So as a beginning premise, every staff, faculty, research project any intellectual property that you develop as part of your work or work that occurs on the university property using university resources, that intellectual property belongs to the system. Now, that's not a bad thing, because if any of you have ever worked in patenting before, patents can be very, very expensive. Because the system owns the intellectual property, the system pays for the patent as it moves forward until we find a licensee, a company or a startup company that was willing to pay for the continued maintenance of the patents. The exception to this rule, which is very important to hopefully some of our members on this presentation, student intellectual property belongs to the students. So if you're a student and you can invent something in the course of your academic endeavors or on your own in any way, shape, or form, that invention belongs to you, not to the system, unless you're being paid to conduct that research. So if you're a student intern working for the university and invent something, it will belong to the university. If you're a student working on your own or an academic setting of any kind, then any intellectual property that you come up with will belong to you. Hopefully that's very clear, but before I move on, I will also say, anytime that you think you have an invention or something that's worth discussing, please contact our office. Any one of the three of us, myself, Najla, or Stephanie, will be able to address your concerns, help you identify what you've done, who owns it, how we need to proceed with it. And at any stage in the process, we're open to discussion. So when I talk about intellectual property, it's defined in our system rules and procedures. It's basically anything that comes up that you come up with. Plants, an invention, a software program, a software app, a training process. That can be something that's copyrightable. Software programs are copyrightable. So intellectual property can be any of those. The invention is just another definition of another way of defining what it is that you've come up with on your own. So why is that important? Well, oftentimes inventors fail to realize how important it is to protect their work. It's the protection of your intellectual property that gives it value. It's not necessarily the fact that you invented something. It's the fact that you now can protect that through a patent, trademark, copyright, or a trade secret, which allows that invention of yours, that innovation of yours, that software program of yours to have real value to someone else to sell in the marketplace. So we will work with you to find out the right way to protect whatever it is that you've invented, whether it's in a piece of hardware, whether it's a software program, whether it's just a process. It could be a new plant, it could be a new strain of something, many different things you come up with. We will be the ones to help you with that. How do we do that? I will let Miss Streety now take over and explain to you some of the work that she does and how we can work with you to commercialize your inventions. Najla?
Thank you, Bobby, for that introduction. Hey, everyone. So good afternoon. How do we support our PV inventors? We first go through the disclosure, go through a consultation of discussing the disclosure process. From there, we have various workshops and trainings and protection, connecting them possibly with the SBIR or STTR grant and going through the licensing process. Technology patentability, going through as far as evaluating it further on, and that is supported through our Texas A&M colleagues also. And looking at the marketing evaluation and the landscape of whether or not this intellectual property is something that's already out there, and what's the best way of going forward in marketing it. Next slide, please. So the process and how we get started into the disclosure and copyrights. First, as you can see, it's the more of the invention and disclosure prepared by the inventor and supported by us at ICEED, where you can get all this information on our website through the PVAMU link to ICEED, where it shows you our disclosure documentation and where the documents are. And Stephanie is on, Stephanie will talk more about this also. All the information you can need to go through a step-by-step process of preparing that disclosure documentation. Next slide. How do we support our entrepreneurs? Do we have a wealth of information from our different support from the SBA, Small Business Administration. Then also we have various workshops, technical evaluation. We also are doing a lot of in the startup formation and support, collaborating with Greentown Labs, the ION, the Canyon. These are various accelerators within the community. We do market analysis. We're looking forward to bringing on 2 new interns for the graduate interns for the fall, who will be supporting this initiative of doing more marketing research and seeing whether or not, you know, the feasibility of moving forward, what's the best course of action. In addition to that, we work with looking at finding external partnerships with corporations, possibly some of our big corporations in the city, as you're looking at the Shells, the Chevrons, or even other smaller businesses, small businesses where we can collaborate with the SBIR. And that, when I say SBIR, that's Small Business Innovation Research Grant. Another thing also, we look at going into contractual agreements. We have a couple of in the pipeline, as Bobby spoke about, where companies have come to us who are looking at starting up right here on campus. And with that being said, we are going to be asking our College of Engineering, College of Business to come in and collaborate with us so that we can use those students can get this experience of starting, what does a startup look like, and working with those potential startups as for future employment. Going through the commercialization development plan. Next slide, please. So I know a lot of us have heard, or many of you've heard possibly tech transfer, and that's technology transfer. A lot of schools are talking about starting up a tech transfer office. We are working in conjunction with Texas A&M on with their tech transfer, running our opportunity here with ICEED, and that's the commercialization process concluded with the transfer of intellectual property rights to a company. And more of that looks like where our companies, where we start here in the research in the lab, and then we're transferring over to commercialization to start a company, a startup company, or possibly partnering with a corporation where they take it over and move it to the next steps, which goes into our licensing. Next slide, please. So there are 3 different options of licenses that we talk about, and that is the option to license, exclusive license, and non-exclusive license. The option to license happens whether you have up to a year or so, or it could be a little further. Right now with Texas A&M, with our agreement, it's up to 1 year. And from there, that licensing provides you the opportunity to work with the company or partnership to see what research needs to happen, the path forward, additional development, research development, and to move this research to the various steps of commercialization. The next is exclusive licensing, which is very beneficial to both sides. And that's where this is an exclusive license to this particular partner, corporation, or small business, and they have exclusive rights to this particular intellectual property. With that being said, there's possibly royalties that our university and inventor can benefit from. The next one is a non-exclusive license, and this is pretty rare, but it does happen. It's more of a generic license where we're able to provide this intellectual property to multiple licensees, and they're able to use it in various different forms within the agreement of the contract. Next slide. So this gives us an overview of our commercialization process. And as you can see, it goes from invention of discovery, from where the researcher thinks they have an idea or possibly have an idea, to the next steps of, hey, I need to talk with ICEED and I need to go ahead and move further with getting the documentation of the disclosure of invention taken care of to protect their intellectual property before they publish. And that is very key that we discuss that. That is very important that we get in front of the publication process before, so that we won't lose any rights to any of that information. From there, we do an internal review to see whether or not is this viable? Do we want to move forward pursuing? It's around here is around the provisional patent. And then if we decide, hey, this is a viable option, we definitely want to move forward with getting intellectual property, getting it patent. And next thing you're looking at is the market analysis. And we bring in the business school on top of those who support our office in doing additional market analysis. And we move next to getting the patent, effective protection, and the moving towards getting external partnerships and talking with what those looking at what does that look like as far as getting those corporations and external partnerships and letting others know that, hey, we've gotten this protected. We'd like to move forward into some type of a collaboration or partnership agreement. Next slide, please. So what is the business development process? For us, our staff, we're looking at the ideas of evaluating commercialization. Is this idea, how can we take this idea to market? What does it look like? What does the time frame look as far as execution? And who do we need to get in the room at the table to have this discussion to say what the whole commercialization, those are from our staff here at ICEED, in addition to some of our external partners and the PI and co-PI, and that is the inventor. Oh, that's right. Opportunity, needs, and recognition. Assisting, there's definitely areas where we can assist the entrepreneur in searching for business opportunities. That's what we're here for. Different partnerships, looking at whether or not, how do we want to push the invention to whether the need of the customer. And as we were talking with a lot of startups, really navigating, catering, and making it fit for purpose, some of our research to ensure that it is addressing the need of the marketplace.
I'd like to insert a little comment here, Najla, if you don't mind. This part, the need recognition, the opportunity, this is when the I-Corps program would be very beneficial to Prairie View researchers. The National Science Foundation has a program where they will pay you approximately $50,000 just to go out and study the market, to see what the need is, see who the companies are, what do they want. You can actually get paid to do that work. It's very work intensive. It's not something that you take lightly, but it is an opportunity and something that our office will be able to work with you on. And Najla is actually taking the lead in increasing the I-Corps opportunities for Prairie View. Sorry.
Thank you for that, Bobby. And yes, definitely, we would love to see more of our researchers taking advantage of the I-Corps program. And you should see more information on that in the weeks to come. Next slide.
Right.
So the opportunity and needs, what all goes into that? The study of the industry itself, searching with, getting more information, search for patent literature, talking to the customer, and that's very important as we really understand our customer, understanding their needs, making sure that it is a viable option for their particular industry, looking to various other university opportunities, investigating government sources, possibly where we can get more funding, and finding new value in the existing technology. So there is various different types of thinking and concept design, development, assistance, where you have two different types of thinking. You have divergent thinking and convergent thinking. And that's where we're really working to use many ideas quickly in the divergent thinking. And then with the convergent thinking, we're bringing back that particular idea back into focus and seeing what ideas and solutions are best fits. So developing the business concept, going forward, we're looking at the customer benefit, product, service, and the distribution. What type of customer will this really be catered to, the benefit that it would have on their industry? How do we take this to produce some type of service? And then whether or not we need to move it forward toward, mass distribution, and the cons and the pros of each. And so last but not least, this is really the overview of our ICEED entrepreneurship. This provides you a very high level landscape of where we start from idea creation to new opportunity recognition, doing a feasibility analysis, whether or not this is a viable option, to intellectual property and regulation, prototype and working with the fabrication center, business, and even bringing in the business school. So seeing, okay, hey, what's the market analysis? What are we seeing right now? Is this something that's trending? How can we possibly get this out on various social media platforms? And that goes into market and consumer research. And then from there, having a strong launch strategy for our customer, and that is more of saying, do we want to bring in different avenues, public publicity, providing the necessary publicity for it, and branding. Then a lot of this has to go with, as you know, protecting the brand. How you launch a brand initially is how it's received in business, building a strong business plan.
Okay.
And from there, I was going to move on to Stephanie.
Okay, go ahead.
From there, Stephanie would go forward with discussing more about our support and around ICEED.
Thank you, Najla and Bobby. So now we're going to talk about some of the trainings, workshops, and competitions that you'll be seeing ICEED present throughout the fall and spring semesters. So not only is our job to help researchers and faculty to protect their IP and to commercialize their inventions, we're also here to train and to educate not only faculty and staff, but also students. And the goals and the purposes of our trainings and workshops are to teach them these processes, teach them the processes of commercialization, the processes of entrepreneurship, and also to prepare them to work with outside entities, to work with those firms outside of Prairie View, and also to prepare them not only for the competitions that we will have here on our campus, but also to prepare to take them to competitions outside of Prairie View, whether it be at another company or whether it be at another university. Next slide. So coming up, you'll be seeing these posted for the fall 2021 semester. You may have already seen announcements about our Panthers Invent competition. Panthers Invent is going to be our first Panthers Invent. You'll see more hopefully in the spring, if not definitely next fall. And each event is going to be sponsored by a different company, and it will be based on a different industry. So this first one that's coming up in September is more so of an engineering base. And so in these Panthers Invent competitions, they're for both graduate and undergraduate students. And this is their opportunity to showcase their skills in communication, their skills in innovation, and they get to put theory into practice. So everything that our faculty are teaching them in the classroom, they get to put these things into practice with real world problems. And these problems and these design challenges have been orchestrated by the sponsors. So for example, our first Panthers Invent coming up in September is sponsored by Sandia Labs, and they are the ones who have developed these design problems. They will also receive pitch training so that they can prepare their presentation and compete for these top 3 awards. The Ideas on the Hill is going to be an ideation contest. And so ideation is just a different version of a pitch contest, except they don't have to have their prototype. They don't have to have a business plan. All they have to do is have an idea and be able to present that idea to a panel. And so with the help of Najla, we will be getting sponsors for these prizes. We already have the sponsors for Panthers Invent, of course, but some of these other competitions where we will be awarding prizes will be coming from some of these sponsors outside of Prairie View. In the spring of 2022, we want to have the Panthers pitch competition. So this is going to be a competition where students will, whether it's them as an individual or if they have a business partner, they'll present their business concept to a panel. And again, with the help of our sponsors that will be coming on board to partner with us, our students will be able to win prizes that will help them actually invest into their business and put the resources back into their business from their hard work. Again, our goal is to not only teach about entrepreneurship and commercialization, but also to assist students in getting these businesses off the ground. We have so many students with so many different talents, and some of them already have their side businesses or some type of little hustle, if you will, that they already engage in. So why not help them refine these hustles? Why not help them refine what they're already doing and help them get things going in the right direction, protect their intellectual property. Many of them have intellectual property and don't even know it. So that's our job, is to help educate them on that and to help guide them as they are going throughout their entrepreneurial endeavors. And then lastly, before the end of the school year, we'll have the PV Small Business Awards. And so this is something that'll just be fun for the students to engage in. A lot of them know about each other's businesses and the different services and products that they offer to each other through social media and just through their interactions on campus. And so our job is going to be interacting with them on campus, on social media, getting involved, being more aware of what they're doing. And at the end, they're going to be able to nominate their peers and vote for different categories for their peers, similar to what we see with Academy Awards or the BET Awards. They're going to be able to have that for their business. And that not only gives them recognition for their business and creates more customers for them, it's free marketing, but it also helps them to stay encouraged. It helps them to stay enthusiastic about what they're doing and to keep going and not to give up. So when it comes to our competitions, not only will we be providing competitions through the ICEED Office and Research and Innovation, but we will also be helping to form teams to take to external competitions at other universities and through other organizations. So we're hoping, with the help of College of Engineering, College of Business, School of Architecture, and other departments throughout the campus, that we can partner to create these teams of students and take the best of the best to these external competitions. So as you can see on this slide, we've already identified many. Some of them go from HUD, Housing Design Challenge, on up to the HBCU Battle of the Brains. We've already spoken to some of our College of Engineers colleagues who are interested in taking students to these competitions. So we definitely look forward to that. And we want to be able to not only prepare them to compete on campus here at Prairie View, but also outside of campus. So the student trainings and workshops, the purpose of these trainings and workshops is not only to educate them to be successful in their own business and endeavors, but also to lead up to the competitions. So every competition that we have, whether it's the Panthers pitch, whether it's the Small Business Awards, all of them, the training for these competitions will be done in these trainings and workshops. So these trainings and workshops are going to prepare them to compete. They're going to prepare them and each workshop will lead up to the skills that they need for these competitions and to be successful, not only in the competitions, but also in the real world. So our Panthers Startup is our entrepreneurship series. So students, whether they have their own business already, or they just have an idea and don't know where to start, the series of this series is going to help them refine those skills, rebrand if they need to, and also for those that just have an idea but they don't know where to start, it's going to help them get started. Our goal is to actually help students begin a startup with their idea, take their idea and make it a reality. And also we will start this entrepreneurship series with a motivational speaker coming in August. The Panther Ideation is our innovation series. So this is going to teach the art of developing solutions and transforming them into inventions. So taking that theory and again, putting it into practice and coming up with an actual invention. And we will have pitch training also included in that series. And the one for commercialization is going to be titled From the Hill to the Market. So this will teach them skills and strategies for the commercialization process. So it's taking their research and developing it into an actual invention, similar to what our faculty are already doing. We want to help these students do the same thing. And again, that one will also include pitch training. No matter whether they are a researcher presenting their research, whether they're already an entrepreneur that is already trying to get their business off the ground or trying to grow their business, pitch training is definitely important. Pitch can be the difference between getting an investor and not getting an investor. So we really take pitch training very seriously. Even in our Panthers event competition coming up in September, the students, those participants will have pitch training. Next slide. So when it comes to faculty training and workshops, my light just went off. Hopefully you all can still see me. But we have trainings not only for our students, but also for our faculty and staff. So the faculty and staff workshops are going to be exclusively for faculty and staff, but the student trainings are open to all students and staff. So we'll be doing Power Hour with ICEED. These will be scheduled monthly, and each month it'll be a different topic, but all of those topics will have something to do with innovation, commercialization, submitting disclosures, technology transfer. Sometimes you may see those topics duplicated over the course of the next 2 semesters, and that's so that we don't miss anyone. Sometimes some faculty and staff may not have been able to attend the previous one, so we want to make sure we circle back and we're always providing that information for them. Our next one, you'll be seeing the invitation for that this week, will be on Tuesday, September 7th, and we'll be talking about commercialization and the technology transfer process. Also, anytime you and your department would like for us to come and visit and do a workshop, no matter what the topic is, you just contact us, let us know the day and the time that you need, and we will be there. Whatever topic it is that your department is in need of learning more about, we will make those accommodations for you. Even if it's just one-on-one or whether it's 20 people, we're more than happy to accommodate you in that way. So again, just going over some of the upcoming events. We have the Panthers event. It is September 17th through 19th, 2021. Faculty and staff are more than welcome to come by and visit and watch the teams at work. They're also more than welcome to come and help mentor the student teams. Also, the Ideas on the Hill will be later this semester. Early October, our entrepreneurship seminar will begin. It will be kicked off. Our series will be kicked off with a seminar, and our guest speaker will be Ryan Wilson. He is an entrepreneur who has been traveling the country doing a lot of speeches and presentations at several other universities, and he has been very successful at launching many incubator offices, and he has many of them. He has some in Detroit, DC, Atlanta, and he also has a network here in the Houston area as well. Again, our workshops will be kicking off this semester: Prepare for Launch, Think Tank, and Proposals. Those will be the topics of our next 3 workshops for students. And again, anything that you see that we post for students is also open for faculty and staff as well. Also, one of the things that we're most excited about is what we call ICEED on location. So we take pride in the fact that we are not confined to this office. We are not confined to the Delco building. We enjoy getting out, going to other buildings, going to other departments, and interacting with our faculty, staff, and students. And so that we can be more reachable, and so that we can connect with everyone on campus. We're here to serve you. You all are our customer, and we're here to serve you. So one of the first places that we will be on location is going to be the Center for Instructional Innovation and Technology Services. So this is located on the 3rd floor of the John B. Coleman Library. If you have not visited this center, you are missing out. It is a beautiful center. The resources they have there are amazing. So we will be there within the next few weeks, October 7th and 21st, as well as November 4th and 18th, from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. And what we'll be doing there is offering any service to faculty, students, and staff. We will have a curriculum for the students that can come and sit and go over some of these commercialization and entrepreneurship processes. If they need help with their business plan, if they need help with marketing strategies, we're going to be there to help them with those things. We'll have those curriculums there on demand, ready for them to sit and learn, and for them to, and any guidance that they will need on those days. And lastly, talking about some of the innovation spaces and facilities that the campus has to offer: the Collaboration and Technology Lab, the Innovation and Technology Lab. At the Northwest Houston Center, there is an Innovation and Collaboration Lab, the Student Enterprise Zone, which is a beautiful area in the College of Business. And also pretty soon you'll see students over there using the kiosks that you would find in a mall. And students will actually be able to use these kiosks to sell their products and services. These products and services could be anything under the sun except food. That's the only thing that won't be allowed is food and beverages. But these students will get to use those kiosks for 2 weeks at a time to run their businesses. And also we have the Fabrication Center, which is a state-of-the-art facility. If you haven't visited that facility, you are definitely missing out. Please go by and visit it. It is located behind the School of Architecture. The students over there are doing some amazing things, a lot of amazing work. And they also are there to help you with your inventions, to help you with your prototyping. We have the Intel Innovation and Creation Center, as well as the Peer and Seed Lab. So many of these spaces and facilities, a lot of people don't know about. We want to also help get the word out about these facilities and these spaces, these centers, because they have valuable resources to help not only students, but also faculty and staff. So if you have any questions about any of these, please feel free to contact us, and we can definitely make sure that you know where they are located and know who to contact to visit these spaces.
Thank you, Stephanie. With that, concludes our formal presentation. And now we have probably 5 to 10 minutes. We can take some informal questions from anybody in the audience. Put those questions in the chat screen, and Ms. Karen Cotton will provide us the questions as they come in.
I do have a couple of questions here that came directly to me. And if you have a question, as Bobby said, please just put it in the chat box, or you can just unmute and add the question to the conversation. One question that came directly to me is, what are the requirements for disclosing inventions or research findings?
That's a question I'll take, Karen.
Sure.
The requirements for an invention disclosure, we covered and we'll continue to cover in a workshop. But basically, an invention disclosure is how you explain what it is you've come up with, why it's important, why it's unique, why it's different than what exists in the market today, and any additional research that you intend to go to conduct on it moving forward. With that information, we can then evaluate your invention from the disclosure standpoint and file the disclosure with the Texas A&M system when it's appropriate. Have export control to review it to make sure there's nothing that should be protected or restricted from publication. And then we can move forward with deciding on when and if it needs to be protected formally. But there is no, I want to be clear, there really is no requirement to disclose, but there are many, many incentives for disclosing your invention. I say that because I've worked with several universities around the country, and it's not uncommon for some inventors to just work on the standard research and publish model. We're not opposed to that model at all, but all we're asking you to do is, before you submit your publication for actual to be published, talk to us. Let's see if you have to come up with something that's worth protecting, that might have monetary value, and not just monetary value, maybe value for the good of the planet. Everybody talks about doing something. If you've done research and you've come up with something that you think is important enough to write about, it's probably important enough to disclose to our office and let us work with you to make sure it is something that's worth protecting.
Thank you for that, Bobby. And the next question, Stephanie, you sort of touched on this, but I think probably a lot of people have this great invention in their mind and they want to tap into some of the things that you spoke about today as a team. So are faculty and staff welcome to attend the workshops and events for students?
Yes, Karen, all faculty and staff are welcome to any of the workshops, even if the announcement seems like it's geared towards students. Faculty and staff are definitely welcome to come. Our goal is not only to help the students with their startups, but even the faculty and staff, you know, whether it is a researcher or whether it's a custodian, we're here to serve everyone in the Prairie View community, and however we can assist them with their entrepreneurship endeavors, we want to do that.
Thank you for that.
I'd like to add just one comment to that, if you don't mind. Stephanie talked a lot about the competitions, the student competitions coming up. And for example, she mentioned that the one coming up is sponsored by Sandia National Laboratory, and it's more engineering focused. I want to dispel any concerns among the students who are interested in these events. It's not just for engineers. It's not just for the technical minded. These are competitions that are a group effort. Someone has to come up with the ideas, someone has to come up with the prototype, someone has to come up with a business plan, someone has to come up with a presentation for the business plan. So these are coordinated efforts where we want students from every college, every discipline within the university to know that they are welcome to participate and that your participation will be valued. There's no substitute for alternate views on something. We all look at problems from our point of view, but seeing the other points of view, even if you're a literature major, you could probably come up with a reasonable common sense approach to solving a technical engineering problem. So everyone is invited and very strongly encouraged to attend.
Thank you. And I want to add a question to that, my own question. So as a student or a faculty member, staff member, if you're interested in the Panthers event, and specifically for students, when they register for this, do they need to be a part of a team or can they register individually?
So all students will register individually, and on the first day of the competition, that Friday, they will mingle amongst the other participants that have been selected. And once between the mingling and discussing the design challenges, they will then form their teams on day one of the competition. So when they register, they won't already have a team. The team will be formed with the guidance of the mentors, as well as with the common interest of the design challenges once they start discussing them at that opening ceremony.
Thank you. I think it was important to get that out there. And also another critical point is that Panthers Invent is open to both undergraduate and graduate students.
Yes, ma'am.
And here's another question that I have. How do I learn about opportunities to license my invention?
Najla, you want to take that?
Najla?
Yes, thank you, Karen. So we will be having different partnership meetings, and we will also be advertising on our social media the various social media platforms, and hosting different workshops on partnerships that that we're soliciting out for opportunities where their solicitation is, hey, we need an opportunity. The research is being done here. Are you interested? This is a potential partnership. So there will be different media platforms where we will provide that information.